My name is JC.
And my name is Juan. Welcome to The Couch, a podcast where real therapists talk about real things.
Please remember that while we are therapists, we are not your therapists, and this podcast is intended for educational purposes only.
What? That's probably one of my favorite disclaimers that is out there.
What we're therapists, but we are therapists, but we are not your therapists.
I'm gonna get a
So,
T-shirt that says that. The front says I'm a therapist, and the back it says, well, I guess I could say maybe not your therapist.
fair enough. So, there's actually this brand that I really enjoy called Be Good brand. I've got a hoodie that says therapy is dope, and they have sweatshirts that say I am not your therapist.
Oh,
And I'm like, that would be cool. But also, I am somebody's therapist.
that's true.
So,
That's a tough one. You may lose some clients. They're like, look, I
yeah,
was
they'll be
looking.
like, well, if you're not my therapist, I'm like, no, I promise I am. Please come back.
Peace to you. I'm excited about today's episode. So this puts us at the season finale, the season wrap up, and you and I were going to focus on aspects of our own mental health journey. Which, as a listener, I think it's going to be really insightful because you're going to have like an inside look at here's a mental health professional that works with clients day in and day out, and we're people too. We go through ups, we go through downs, we go through shit, right? A lot of it murky, and
Hmm.
I'm going to be as vulnerable as I can sharing with you ups and downs, items in that mental health journey. So maybe some of those are relatable and you're able to plug in, and hopefully they can provide a sense of connection and connection meaning between us, the podcast host, and you, the listener.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm also like a little nervous because again, we try to be as vulnerable as possible, but I'm not typically the person being asked the questions in this setting specifically. So I'm excited though to share how I got to where I am because this journey's been very important to me.
Yeah. And, I'm going to kind of go in different directions here. I'm looking at it as and you can go in the direction you're comfortable with. I'm looking at it as a mental health journey with what are the aspects of what's happened within that journey.
Hmm.
Um, so one place I'd like to start at is the maintenance that happens within my journey. So the maintenance goes into like what's behind the scenes,
Hmm.
and what kind of keeps me going, what structure is in there. So for me, now I used to not be early bird. So I try to wake up consistently at 5 a.m. And after that point, I'm getting up at 5 and I work out with this group. It's a national group, but we have little workouts here. Um, no affiliation to any aspects, just more mentioning because it's a group that I enjoy being a part of. It's called
Hmm.
F3. So you got three F's: fitness, fellowship, and faith, I believe. Yeah, that sounds right. But
Hmm.
basically, we are a group of men and we work out at 5:30 a.m. till about 6:15. It's all inclusive, and all colors, languages, ages, backgrounds. The hardest part is you got to get up at 5:30 in the morning and go work out at a park with no equipment. So obviously that part is not fun to many. That's been part of my practice for over a year. And if I'm not working out that early, then I'm still getting up and I'm either working out at home, doing some kind of exercise. I found that to be really helpful where it keeps my energy up. It helps with my own sense of leadership. Like I feel like for my kids, I'm a father of two. They're able to see, okay, there's dad, and he's waking up and he's building these social relationships, and that he's consistent in that space.
Hmm. Yeah, that is a really kind of interesting way to go about it because I'm like, mm, I don't know. I feel like you and I are going to have very different ways of like our self care and like where it fits into our lives, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're like lame.
No, not at all. Because, I mean, listen, you do whatever it is that's going to make you happy. I'm not waking up early to go work out with nobody. Not at all. I actually am not so much a homebody, but my hobbies are what really like help ground me. So you're talking about waking up super early in the morning. I spend more time in bed in the morning, mostly because it's a really good quiet time for me.
Mm,
The world is still quiet and my body is still quiet, so my brain hasn't started racing yet, and I try to be very intentional about what I'm doing in bed in the morning, if you would. So, like, wake up, roll over. I do sometimes pick up my phone, but I've gotten better about plugging in my
I
phone
knew
across the
it.
room so that I can't get to it, because my bed is super comfortable. So I'm like, dang, do I want to play Candy Crush or do I want to stay in these warm sheets? And the warm sheets win every time.
Mm,
So it kind of forces me to be still because
yeah,
otherwise I'm very like go, go, go. My brain is very go, go, go. So I take that time for me.
yeah. I love that. I mean, that's what's powerful about it. You look at what's needed for you. So like I'm hearing yours, and it's I need that quiet time from the world. And there's many times
Hmm.
I work with patients of mine, and that's part of our journey, part of that journey of mental health, where they're telling me, "Hey, I'm showing up at work for all of these people, and I'm showing up for the family, and I'm showing up for friends, and showing up for blah and blah and blah." And it's all wonderful spaces, and they're like, "I need quiet space." So there's times that
Hmm.
I'll ask them, "Well, what time are you getting up?" And maybe they're reflecting when I'm getting up, and I go, "Hey, what do you think about staying in bed?" And they'll look at me like I'm crazy. And I go, no, I mean it. I want you to stand there for an extra like 15 minutes and just even if you're awake, just stay in there and give your body another 15 minutes just to be still and listen to, noises around you, maybe the first birds that wake up. And that becomes part of their mental health journey. So as you're listening in, you got listening to what's happening on my space, what's happening on JC space, see what fits and look at your own space and what's appropriate there.
Hmm.
Looking at my mental health journey, for a long time, I've noticed, and I didn't know it was called ADHD at first as a kid. Um, I didn't work with a counselor or anything like that growing up. Wish I would have. I wish I would have. I think there was a cultural aspect growing up Latino where if I bring things up like that, I'd be like, tú eres loco, which means you're crazy. Um,
Hmm.
or my parents are immigrants. I migrated here as a child, and they migrated here as adults, so their journey was very different than mine. But it's certainly a journey of growing up and hearing those messages. If whatever issue I had, my thoughts would be like, well, they probably went through a lot worse shit, so I better not say too much.
Hmm.
And it wasn't good. It wasn't good that I thought that way. And I remember when I was in college, through school, I would bust my butt. Like I'm talking about, I would read and read and just if the teacher says do 1 hour, I did 10 hours of studying. And then I show up for
Hmm.
a test, classic ADHD brain. I'd forget stuff or be bouncing around everywhere. And then I feel like an idiot and be like, man, I don't know my stuff. And I think I ended up going to the UNCG um, counseling center just to
Hmm.
kind of get some tests and came back and with ADHD. And I kind of stopped there and looked for like holistic ways to address it. And I bring that up now as part of my mental health journey where I can still feel and sense many times where these symptoms will come up. Maybe I'm jumping from thing to thing. I'm trying to do too much at once. My attention is
Hmm.
spread. And my mental health journey is acceptance, acknowledgement, and then
Hmm.
looking at educating my support system. So my spouse, she's very much aware of it. And she's a great advocate. There's many times that she'll go, slow your roll, reel it back. You said you were going to do
Hmm.
blank. Now you're doing like six other things. And, those are great conversations that are helpful to me.
Listen, we love a supportive spouse. We do.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a very similar sort of um upbringing, if you would, but on just a different sort of page of the POC book, if you were. Like, I'm a Black American, and both of my parents weren't super familiar with mental health as a kid, although my sister did go to therapy when she was younger for something, honestly. I was really young, so I don't quite remember. But my parents were always open to getting help. But it wasn't until I was a teenager that I really realized that I needed the help. But by the time you're a teenager, you kind of get that stigma of like, oh, you're just a moody teen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not a problem. Don't worry about it. Or, oh, God, there are these super toxic memes on like Twitter of black parents being like, oh, you depressed? You need to go depress them dishes. Like, just to,
I, I
just to,
think that's the worst.
yo, but like, bro, I'm out here struggling and you mad because I didn't take the chicken out the freezer. What is wrong with you? Priorities. But, I definitely experienced that sort of cognitive dissonance of knowing that I needed help, but not having like a support system. And much like you, when I got to college, I, on the very lowest of keys, lost it. Um, and it had gotten to the point where I was like, okay, I'm not functioning. And I had a really great group of friends who was like, hey, girl, have you ever considered therapy? And I was like, what is that? And
Hmm.
why do you want me to go? Um, and I was able to get the help that I needed with problems that I didn't even know were problems. Like, oh, what do you mean it's not normal to only eat like once a day? Oh, what do you mean it's not normal to only sleep 3 hours a night? What do you mean it's not normal to do those things? I've been doing them and I'm just fine.
Hmm.
Spoiler alert, I was not just fine. I was not okay. And if it weren't for access to mental health, which is something that I will harp on until the cows come home, barriers to access are a huge issue just overall. And I experienced a barrier to access for mental health care firsthand. And now that I'm older and I have an established plan of care and I have an established therapist, like, you are going to have to pry it from my cold, dead hands because I realize I can't live without it, quite literally.
That story, and probably both of us are on there. I feel like there's so many areas of connection that listeners probably have to it, where they're like, yeah, I relate to that. I went through that, and that makes it your mental health journey, which then I think creates so many ripple effects on different areas of your life. I'm glad that you had those friends that were like, hey, let's talk about therapy. Let's try therapy. It's wonderful to surround yourself with a support system that is present, and maybe they see some of those blind spots that you're not seeing. With another aspect of my mental health journey, I I like to include this has to do more of a relationship as far as marriage, and as far as the relationship with my children. I like to do as many as I can sitting rituals where I'm sitting down with my spouse and just catching up. But I try to do it like with a lot of intention. So if we finish dinner, literal words, I'll say, hey, let's sit down and then have a cup of coffee. And then I'll get the coffee
Hmm.
ready and then I'm sitting and we're going to that space. If it's with my kids, it's, hey, let's go outside and let's go on the trampoline. Or hey, let's go for a walk. And maybe
Hmm.
we're, not sitting there, but we're in a space of communication. I found that to be really important to my own mental health because
Mm.
there's times where I may think to myself, okay, am I growing into the father that I want to be? And
Hmm.
and those thoughts can be thoughts that are just lurking there, which
Hmm.
there's times, and I know many parents relate to this, where you get really busy and then you're watching your kids grow and then you feel like, man, you're missing out so much, and that feeling hurts. So now I've got this hurt feeling that I'm carrying, and to address it, I've really plugged in these rituals that I'll purposely and intentionally find them and say, let's connect, let's do this. Time is one of those essence that it'll slip by.
Oh man, that just makes me think like about my position on the other side of that. I am an adult now and I love my parents very much, but I don't get to see them as often as I would like to just because, I am busy. But when I am at home, part of that like self care for me, or part of that, you know, maintenance, if you would, is, going to my parents' house and sitting and watching a movie with my mom or going outside with my dad. And it's very rejuvenating to be with the people that I love and care about. And I try really hard to like make space for that cuz like you said time is precious, right? Time is of the essence, and you don't realize how much time you're not spending doing stuff you want to do until you're kind of out of that time.
Hmm. And with it comes like those feelings that you get, and those feelings can either have a positive impact on you, or a negative one. So I think for me, it was missing those. They were causing me to have not the best thoughts, like the thoughts of this is not going to help that parenting relationship, or this is not going to help that spousal relationship. And I didn't like those feelings. I didn't like those thoughts. So to support
Mhm.
my own mental health, it was acknowledging it was happening, accepting that it was happening, and then doing something about it, and following up to see if what I currently am doing is effective, and having that long term effect that I'm looking for.
Mhm.
Let's see, another aspect of mental health, and these are items that I share with the individuals I work with too. If the questions come up, not just blurting it out. Anxiety, that I've had for, again, as long as I can remember. I get these anxious feelings in my stomach, sometimes kind of lightheaded, depending on the topic or what item I'm confronting.
Mhm.
And I'll notice it's a physical response. It's not so much of push this anxious thought out of me. It's more of my body is sweating, and I can't get it to stop sweating because it's
Mhm.
thinking a certain way. So that's part of my mental health journey. That's been with me for a hot minute, and it may be with me for to the end of the days. So for me, that's where earlier when I mentioned getting up at 5 a.m., like that's where a lot of that exercise comes in. I'm purposefully exercising my body as much as I can to push out the right chemicals, to make sure
Mhm.
that they're coming out and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I make sure that I engage in healthy social relationships. I keep a journal that's focused on different categories of life, from the relationship with my spouse to how I'm doing with my kids to how I'm doing with myself. And all of those avenues that kind of come in together to support that area of anxiety. And I can notice an effect when I drop off and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take a week off and not exercise. I feel it right away.
Mhm. Yeah, once you get into like those habits that maintain you, or those habits that help manage a symptom, which, it does not go unnoticed, your vulnerability. And I want to give you a thank you for being vulnerable with me in this space because I don't take it for granted. Um, but yeah, it's once you skip it or once you don't have it, you like your whole life kind of falls apart a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, man, I feel like crap. What's wrong? And it's like, you ain't been to the gym in a couple of days. That's what's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes into, right, like your mental health journey. So as you're listening, I want you to think about, like, actually think about yourself on a journey. And I like visualizations, kind of how my brain works. So I think about myself, and if you heard the other episode, especially episode 3, I like to hike. I'm hiking on this trail, and I'll tell you what, I need to have with me on this trail a backpack with gadgets, with tools, with the right shit. Otherwise, it's going to be a miserable journey. And my mental health journey is me on this trail. And in this bag, I've got fitness, I've got social relationships, I've got a journal, right? I've got all of these items that come in together to allow it to be a journey that I'm doing all right in. I'm positive in. Sometimes it's tough.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, as you were talking about your maintenance, something that I use for myself is I too have a therapist. Um, Part of the help that I got when I was in college was starting therapy, and I'd taken a really lengthy break away from going to therapy, and it was not conducive with the goals I wanted to reach in life. So now I am very consistent with my own therapist and having my own talks and making sure that the sort of like rigmarole that's going on in my head isn't bleeding onto the people that I care about, and it's not leaking into my work as a therapist. And it's something that I can genuinely say makes me better overall. Like, it makes me a better friend, it makes me a better partner, it makes me a better therapist, being able to have someone in my corner the way that I get to be in someone else's corner. And for us as therapists, we are regulated or guided by something called the American Counseling Association's Code of Ethics, the ACA, and self care is an ethical mandate. We must take care of ourselves to the highest of our abilities in order to do the best job possible as the counselors and therapists that we are. So, Juan, you were talking about being really, really intentional about what it is that you do. I'm faithfully in my therapist's office
Mm,
because I know that that's what I need to be the type of person who is making the changes that I want to make in the world.
that's it, right? Looking at those changes and admitting to yourself, which is not an easy thing to do. Admitting to yourself and accepting that this has to be part of that fabric. Part of the items that go with you on your journey to wherever you're going. I think that goes a long way, and it's something that I continue to work on, like accepting and saying, okay, this is what makes sense for me. And I look around, and I go, okay, right, I feel good, and I like the life that's built around me, and it's not just a magic wand that how it's taken place. It's a lot of
Hmm.
ups, a lot of downs, but like you said, it's knowing, okay, I got to keep seeing my counselor because that's part of that journey.
Yeah, yeah. I just, we can literally sit here for hours talking about all the ways that we take care of ourselves, the big stuff, the small stuff. You know, I put my keys, wallet, and phone all in a like holder beside the door because I'm forgetful, and I walk out the house with all of my stuff if you let me. That's like an instance of self-care. And we can talk about those little things all the time, but I think the overarching message of this episode specifically is nobody is immune to the need of self-care. We are therapists. We are, the authority in the room. When we are in the room, we have advanced degrees, we have hours of training, we've taken incredibly difficult exams to get to where we are, and we still need to take care of ourselves.
Powerful. Taking care of ourselves. I'm just sitting on it, and hopefully people are sitting on it too. To really look at that and say, okay, the counselors that I'm working with, here's what's happening on the back end, and that's a common ground. There's, I think, at least 9 out of 10 counselors I meet, they see a counselor themselves, right? They consistently engage with that. And that same statistics, I think a lot of them engage in collaborative work where they meet with other counselors and talk about kind of what JC and I are talking about here. And it's nice to hear that because in maybe from the client side, I know when I see a counselor, it's nice for me to hear it from the client side because it's like, okay, we're all right. We're all hiking this mountain, and we all
Mm-hmm.
we all need a little bit of support. A little lean on me.
When you're
Mm.
not strong, I'll be
Mm.
your friend. Yeah.
Man, I used to
That's
kill
just
that
that's
song.
the ending song of this episode specifically. It's just gonna be us karaokeing Lean on Me.
Exactly. Wow. Well, I think we could keep going and going and going with this episode on my mental health journey and sharing aspects. But it seems like in every episode that we've done so far, we've uncovered different aspects of our journey and kind of plugged it into the topic itself. What do you think?
Yeah, actually. I feel like we've covered a lot of really good ground over this first season. And I think I'd mentioned it before, but this is definitely growing to beyond what my brain was conceptualizing. And I'm really enjoying this process.
I'm right there with you. It's a nice it's like a nice teamwork coming in and creating this podcast, a couch, and giving it a meaning and giving it a home, a nice comfy place for listeners as they spend some time with us. This is our season finale of season one and season one of the couch. And I know you and I, we end every episode with our personal growth challenge. But before we do that, let's touch up on next season, right? So next season, we are going to spend time going into building healthy relationships, which we went into some of that in episode 4. But with next season, we're going to go deeper. We're going to go deep into relationships from child to child, parent to child, spouses, dating in those early phases, really hitting each of those categories, as many as we can, to give you a nice space to come into where you're building off of them.
Yeah, we realize that the relationship conversation is much bigger and complex than what one episode can hold. So, second episode, come rock with us while we talk about all the different types of relationships and all the things that you can do to maintain relationships, end your unhealthy relationships, and, just be the best you can be for the people around you.
Mm, best you can be for the people around you. So let's see, personal growth challenge. The personal growth challenge. You want to go first on this one?
You know what? I'll let you take it.
Well, thank you. Personal growth challenge. Whether you are just listening to the first episode, episode 6, I'm sorry, episode 5, the final one of the season 1, or you've been on this journey from day 1, till right now, I'd like for you to kind of take a close look at where you are today. And this is going to require a little bit of writing. I want you to write yourself a letter of gratitude. Dig in there. I'm sure there's many things that you've done right. There's many people you've helped, many doors you've opened. I want you to write yourself a letter of gratitude, highlighting some of those items, and do your best to allow it to be at minimum one paragraph. Last I checked, that's 3 to 4 sentences.
That's a good one. That's a really good growth challenge. We don't often show gratitude to ourselves, so I really enjoy that. My personal growth challenge for you as this season kind of winds down to an end, I would like for you to go back and, maybe re listen to the episodes in this season, see if there's anything that really sticks out to you, and do a little journaling about it. If you listen to episode 2, where you were like, all right, you know what, maybe I am ready to think about my mental health, maybe it's time for you to make a to do list. What you're going to do to find yourself a therapist. If you were really rocking with episode 3 and you found that deficiency that I mentioned in my personal growth challenge there, you're like, hey, I am going to start working on that specifically. Make yourself a to do list of what you want to do to accomplish some of the goals that we've set for you guys, and even some goals that you just set for yourself. It can be really empowering to have a list and know that you can accomplish what's on it.
I like that one as well. My friends, y'all got some really good personal growth challenges. I'm hoping that you spend some time on them, you apply them and kind of see what impact it has on your life. We did it. We made it through season 1. I am eager. I am excited about getting into season 2.
I'm very excited about getting into season 2. We're going to come back, better than ever with some really great information for our lovely listeners. And we're just really excited for you guys to join us next season.
I'm coming back better, stronger, faster.
Yeah. I was about to say harder, better, faster, stronger, I think it is.
Yeah, something like that. All of those things, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Once again, thank you so much to each of you taking time out of your day to listen to us, to spend this time with us, to spend time focused on you.
Yes, thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your day. This has been The Couch, real therapists talking about real things, and we're going to see you guys in season 2.